And it wasn't until mid to late 20s as a Christian pastor that I finally got to start to travel internationally a little bit and go see some of the world. Well, some years later now, I've had the great honor of traveling all over the world. And almost everywhere I've been, or I should say, in fact, everywhere I've been, I've noticed a trend, and that is there's at least two groups of people that really don't like each other. And they build huge walls between them. Huge walls between them. And so, for example, when I went to Northern Ireland, the walls are actually suicide bomber walls with security checkpoints. Huge concrete walls with chain link and barbed wire on the top, dividing the Catholic and Protestant sections of the city. History of violence. In South Africa, saw the same thing. Many of the blacks living in very poor townships surrounded with enormous walls. And then whites living oftentimes in more affluent communities, also surrounded by very high walls and barbed wire with armed guards to even get into their neighborhoods. But I've never seen anything quite like Israel. When you enter into Israel, you first realize there's literally walls everywhere. And the Christian quarters and the Muslim quarters and the Jewish quarters are all very, very much divided. And you have to pass through security checkpoints at certain times to actually go from one area to another. The dividing walls are protected by soldiers with guns. And unless you have permission, you're not allowed to even pass from certain sections of the city into others. And during the tour with my family, we wanted to go visit Bethlehem. And that was amazing. I mean, you're looking at miles of an enormous suicide bomber wall that you can't even drive a car through. They're trying to defend themselves from terrorist attacks on both sides. Huge walls covered with chain link, barbed wire, security cameras, military personnel, armed guards up on turrets. You're looking at passing through security checkpoints to even get to the other side of the wall. So as an American, as we were touring in Israel and we wanted to cross over into Bethlehem, the bus pulled up to the security checkpoint, armed guards, military soldiers welcome us off of the bus. I look at our tour guide and say, "Are you going to go with us?" He says, "I can't go over there. I'm not allowed to go on that side of the wall. I'm Jewish. The bus can't go on that side of the wall. It's a Jewish bus." I don't know if they circumcised the bus or what, but it's a Jewish bus. And the driver can't go to that side of the wall because it's a Jewish driver. So you have to walk through the security checkpoint, and then there'll be another bus, another driver, and another tour guide that are not Jewish, and they'll take you around Bethlehem, but we'll wait for you, and then you can come back when your tour is done in Bethlehem to this side of the wall. And what is interesting is that physical realities often illustrate spiritual realities. That when we see barriers between people, they represent spiritual barriers as well. And as we get into Ephesians chapter 2, verses 11 through 22 today, and we look at the issue that I am reconciled, you're going to hear this word from the Apostle Paul, a dividing wall of hostility. A dividing wall of hostility is what he is speaking of, and it's a spiritual wall of hostility, but it actually as well was a physical wall of hostility. It was a dividing wall. And they would have thought in large part of the temple. And in that day, the holiest place on earth, where the Holy of Holies dwelt, the presence of God was the temple. And God dwelt there. And the holiest people were given the closest access to God. So let's say that the Holy of Holies is here. Well, the priests are here, and then other religious leaders are here, and then Jewish men are here, and then there's walls. Then the Jewish women are here, and the Gentiles are somewhere else. They're in a place called the court of the Gentiles. They're far away. They're on the proverbial back of the bus. That you're probably not going to worship the real God, and if you do want to show up, stay out of the way over on this wall, the very last wall, that's where you go. And if you pass through the wall and try and get any closer access to the presence of God, they will kill you. It was a death sentence. So there was a literal and spiritual dividing wall of hostility between the Jews and the Gentiles.